Son of Kraven the Hunter, Alexei is just as capable of killing the webhead. Making his first appearance in the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 243, Alexei is the son of Kraven the Hunter and a mutant woman. So Alexei has his father's powers, but he also has powers that allowed him to talk to animals, passed down from his mutant mother. I've always wanted that power too. I mean, the amount of times I've had to take on raccoons with like a hockey stick. Like, can you guys just leave, please? It'd be so much easier if I could just... and then they leave. That's it, no problems. He's also known as the second Kraven the Hunter, I mean, obviously. And there's even talks of Jason Momoa playing Kraven the Hunter in the next live-action Spider-Man movie for the MCU. And with Jamie Foxx just being announced to reprise his role as Electro, we could potentially see Kraven join in to complete the Sinister Six lineup, which is something we almost got in the Amazing Spider-Man Almost trilogy. So it may finally be happening, people. Hold on to your butts. And if he's defeated, we always know that his son will just come in and be Kraven the Hunter 2.0. Good to know.
Daken's original name was Akihiro. He is a mutant natural-born son of Wolverine and his wife Itsu. Itsu herself was very pregnant with Logan's child when she was murdered by Bucky Barnes during his time as the assassin known as Winter Soldier. It was later revealed that Itsu's unborn child did not perish, but was instead cut out of Itsu's womb and retrieved by the villain Romulus. Romulus later left the baby on the doorstep of a wealthy Japanese family, who took the baby in and raised him as their own. The family named him Akihiro, but the servants referred to him as Daken, meaning mongrel, because of his mixed racial appearance. Romulus would later reveal himself to the boy after everything kinda went sideways, claiming to be him from the future and attempting to use and manipulate Daken for his own purposes. Daken and his father, considering his backstory as such, have had a rocky relationship throughout the comics, and Daken is often painted as a villain or a reluctant anti-hero.
Graydon Creed is the epitome of mommy/daddy issues. He was conceived through the utter seduction and bamboozlement as his mother Mystique seduced freelance assassin Victor Creed, also known as Sabretooth, while they were stationed in Germany. During this time, Mystique, while in her Raven persona, had taken on the identity of deceased German secret agent Lenny Zauber. The two became lovers and had Graydon together, though Mystique faked her own death in order to leave Victor and ended up giving Graydon up for adoption. Now, even though Graydon was born to two mutants, he was not a mutant himself, and this sort of fueled the rage inside of him. So in Graydon's later years, he carried this hatred for his parents with him, and it grew to encapsulate all mutants. He even went so far as to organize a group called Friends of Humanity, and though this sounds like a cute and catchy name, their purpose was very much the opposite. The group was opposed to the civil rights of mutants and committed terrorist attacks against them. Graydon was also a hopeful presidential candidate at one point, but never fully ascended to the coveted position as he was assassinated by a future version of his mother Mystique as an act of revenge for the Friends of Humanity's part in the attack on Trevor Chase, the descendant of Mystique's lover Destiny.
Born as the second child of Margaret Slade, making his first appearance in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula issue 2, he's in the bloodline of Apocalypse, and he's too cool not to include. Born in the 18th century, his family was part of the main branch of Clan Akaba. So basically, he was a second-born and was physically smaller, so he didn't really get too much attention from his mom. Middle child syndrome, kinda. Pretty mean. She was actually using her time and energy to mold Hamilton Slade. The family was pretty wealthy and spent most of their time in the Alexandria House, aka the cool treehouse meeting place for Clan Akaba. So Frederick, growing up more or less under the radar, that is until Ozymandias came along and saw new potential in him. Ozymandias spent his time watching the members of Clan Akaba as they betray each other and even kill each other just to get closer to Apocalypse. But Frederick Slade? He was a different egg. Ozymandias saw courage, fairness, and compassion inside of Frederick, so he trained him to become the leader of Akaba, and to be donned the title of the Fittest. What a great nickname that would be, like, oh Frederick, oh you mean Frederick the Fittest? Yeah, I know him, he's my boss. So now he's a descendant of Apocalypse, so he of course has a few tricks up his sleeve. Self-molecular manipulation for starters, which most upper level members of Clan Akaba possess. Also teleportation, but this one is unique to him. Not only can he teleport himself, but he can also teleport objects or people. It makes a cool blink sound when he teleports too. Gotta love the small details.
Alas, we have yet to get a child whose parents are Black Cat, aka Felicia Hardy, and Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. In the PS4 DLC featuring Black Cat for the Spider-Man game, it was alluded that Felicia had maybe had a secret son without informing Peter, and that he was the father. However, this was later revealed to all be a ruse. We got tricked. So far, that seems to be as close as we've gotten to seeing these two have a child together. But we do have though, is a daughter of Felicia's who took up the mantle of Scarlet Spider. That's her daughter, Felicity Hardy, who comes to us from Earth 982. She is the daughter of Felicia and Flash Thompson, Peter's good friend and former high school bully. Felicia later leaves Flash and starts a relationship with her work colleague Diana, causing some strain between her and her daughter. Scarlet Spider was trained by her mother, has a brilliant investigative mind, and uses gadgets in order to simulate spider-like abilities while acting as a hero. She wasn't born with any specific powers. She's also a friend and ally of Mayday Parker.
So while she was still in her Raven persona, Mystique marries Baron Christian Wagner, who was a member of the German nobility. Basically, this guy underperformed as a lover, and Mystique headed out behind his back, using her shape-shifting abilities to hook up with other men and trying to conceive an heir. Eventually, she meets Azazel, who's this immortal father of the Neophan, super bad spooky guy. Mystique gets pregnant with Azazel's child, and she gives birth to the baby, being Nightcrawler. He was born with blue skin, yellow eyes, and a pointed tail, and if that doesn't scream mutant, I don't know what does. After he was abandoned, he was found by Azazel's lover and raised in the circus. His powers manifested around puberty, and he became the cool blue teleporting dude we know today. Also, fun fact, Mystique and Destiny were supposed to be his bio parents, but the Comics Code Authority prohibited the portrayal of gay or bisexual characters at the time. But it would have been really cool to see them
Making his debut in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula issue 1, Jack STARSMORE was actually born into a lesser house of the clan Akaba. See, part of the STARSMORE bloodline, he wasn't treated with too much respect. The person that gave him the hardest time was Hamilton Slade, his cousin, who I'll talk about in 1 minute. He had a pretty unique mutation that made him stand out from the rest. That being, he can breathe fire. Yeah, he's a pyrokinetic who straight up shoots fire out of his mouth. Guy must kill it at parties. Oh, and he can also absorb fire too with his mouth. So if anything lights on fire in your kitchen, maybe you're cooking something and there's a little plume of dust, Jack STARSMORE can just suck it up. He was a child when he was deemed a servant to the council and realized he was a small fish in a very big and very overpowered sea. He had to make up for this lost strength, so he would always go above and beyond his duties to make sure everybody around him is happy and safe. We love him.
Also known really as just Wolverine. She and her dad are both Wolverine really. Laura Kinney is technically the genetic twin of Wolverine. She was created when Facility tried to create a clone of Weapon X to use, well, as a weapon. Sarah Kinney, an acclaimed geneticist, was brought in when Xander Rice failed to replicate the adamantium bonding procedure on any of his subjects, who all died during the process. The genetic sample that Sarah was attempting to use to clone Wolverine with was damaged, which prompted her to suggest making a female clone instead of reconstructing the genetic sample artificially, which would take years. When Dr. Sutter and Xander Rice refused to agree with Kinney that this was the best way to proceed, she rebelled and decided to go against their wishes, moving forward with her version of the project. In the end, she was forced into being the surrogate mother for baby Laura and regretted her earlier views of seeing this being as only a weapon instead of the true miracle of life that it was. Laura would grow up to be X-23 and would eventually escape the facility and track down her genetic father, Wolverine. Little baby Gerald is the son of Jessica Drew of Earth 616, the main continuity. Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, decided she wanted to become a mother solo styles. The story she tells her BFF Carol Danvers is that she had a pregnancy scare with a man she'd been casually seeing at the time named Ryan. After discovering, however, that she wasn't pregnant, she realized how disappointed she was. Now, she had never thought that she wanted kids, but she had never really revisited that priority in a long time. And it seemed that now she very much changed her mind and she did want kids. She really wanted a baby. She contemplated this decision for 3 months, then made an appointment to discuss her options. Jessica became a mom solo after that. There was a dad, but he is presumably just a donor, not someone Jessica ever met, or maybe ever wants to meet. Her son Gerald is often babysat by Jessica's friend and later romantic partner Roger, formerly known as Criminal Porcupine, when she needs to go out on superhero business. Gerald has yet to show any signs of being superpowered, however, he's still kinda wee yet, so there's hope that we could see a little spider baby.
Jealousy can go a long way. I mean, if your best friend got superpowers, would you not be the most jealous person on the planet? I mean, not only would I beg them for their powers, but I would probably end up resenting them. Like if my best friend was Spider-Man, yeah, I'm gonna be pretty upset every time I have to take a bus. Making his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man 31, Harry Osborn is Peter Parker's best friend. Played by James Franco in the Sam Raimi trilogy and Dane DeHaan in the Garfield Almost trilogy, this comic book character is one of my favorites to watch. So while Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, who is Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe, his dad, they'd go head to head and fight. Peter Parker is also best friends with Harry Osborn, his son. So we got a little triangle of emotions there. So eventually Harry found out about his best friend's alter ego and became a madman, especially after Spider-Man killed his dad. Hello? Let's go. He also knows Peter Parker takes pics of Spider-Man, so he asks him to help with a plan. That plan didn't go well once he found out his worst enemy is also his best friend. So, donning his father's suit and becoming the next Green Goblin. Looking back at James Franco's performance as Harry Osborn, like sure there were cringe moments, but overall this guy did a pretty good job with the character development over 3 films. This guy lasted 3 films. He even had some unreal like buddy cop moments with Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. Plus we got 3 movies with that James Franco stank guy, you know? Oh, he's so good. Then of course Dane DeHaan played him in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and his plan to hurt Peter's love interest worked a bit better, I'd say. Which Green Goblin did you prefer? I mean, let us know in the comments. Also, side question, who's your dream cast for Harry Osborn in the MCU right now? I feel like Timothée Chalamet is gonna get casted. He's a young age, he looks good, he looks cute, but he's kind of villainous. I feel like it's the perfect time for him to get thrown into the MCU.
April Parker is the clone of May Parker from Earth 982. When May was just a baby, Norman Osborn had her clone. He turned this clone into the first human symbiote hybrid. This was an experiment that was part of a plan to help Norman find a path to immortality, resurrecting himself as a more powerful Green Goblin. Originally, April was a misguided villain who actually didn't really even have a name. She would take up the name April after she reformed and agreed to join the Parker family, creating a cover of being May's cousin, with her name April being a play on May's name, as in the months of the calendar year, April and May, which are right next to one another sequentially. April would take up multiple different mantles, including Mayhem, one she took up in a future where she turned against May but ultimately sacrificed herself in order to save her cousin in the end.
Speaking of Trevor, let's talk about the little guy. This one might be a stretch, but just go with me on this one. We all know that Mystique and Destiny are like a thing. They're lovers, they're a couple, they're life partners. You get the point. As life partners, they share an extended family, so Destiny's descendants are also Mystique's in a way. So Destiny's grandson, Trevor Chase, is also Mystique's, sort of. Trevor is the son of Justine and Cole Chase, Justine being Destiny's daughter. Justine and Cole were friends with Mystique and she looked after them after Destiny's death. They're all pretty much a family, so I'm saying that Trevor is basically a child of Mystique adjacent.
First appearing in Captain America issue 290, she's the daughter of Red Skull. That's right, the villain in Captain America, the First Avenger. So Red Skull realized he needs a male heir and went out, found himself a washerwoman, and went about it. After the mother had died during childbirth, Red Skull, better known as Johann Schmidt, almost killed the child because it had been a girl and not a boy. What a monster! So Susan Scarborough was like, hey, that's just a bit wild, maybe let's not do that, I'll raise her, what do you say? And he agreed. So the Red Skull passed on his wisdom through Susan. He came back as she was a child and put her in a machine that sped up her aging process, making her an adult and giving her her superpowers, thus becoming Mother Superior, the leader of the Sisters of Sin. My favorite part of all this, one time Captain America was put in this machine and became super old. And then when he used the machine to revert back to regular age, he took the sisters with him so that they also de-aged. And I honestly think we're gonna see some sort of version of this in the MCU now with Scott Lang's van. I mean, sure they failed at making a time machine, but they also accidentally created this aging machine or de-aging machine. So like, can we throw Cap back in there and just get him to sign some more movie contracts? Cause I feel like we're not done with Chris Evans yet.
RAZE is the child of Mystique and Wolverine from an alternate universe. He hails from Earth 13729 and was created by Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Immonen. Although he might be the son of Mystique and Logan, he doesn't have a great relationship with either, having tried to kill both of them, and actually succeeding, I think, at least in one of those cases. He joined his half-brother Charles Xavier II on the Future Brotherhood team and passionately believes and fights for mutant rights to an extreme. RAZE believes all humans need to be eliminated in order for mutants to finally live in peace. AMIKO is the adopted daughter of Wolverine. She first appeared in Uncanny X-Men issue 181, where her mother was killed when a dragon from Battleworld rampaged through Tokyo. True story. Wolverine agreed to look after AMIKO as her mother lay dying, worried for her daughter's safety. Wolverine promised to raise her as his own, and well, that's kinda what he did. Well, it was mostly his fiancée Mariko who raised her, as Wolverine of course was often busy with X-Men missions. After Mariko was assassinated by the Hand, AMIKO ended up in the foster system. When Logan learned AMIKO's foster parents were not taking proper care of her, he removed her from their care and asked his friend Yukio to look after her. Seeing as how AMIKO has spent most of her life raised with Clan Yoshida, although she does not have any powers just yet, she is trained in the martial arts. She's even teamed up with Wolverine and Yukio at the end of issue 303 of Wolverine. It's pretty cute.
The son of war himself, born hundreds of years ago on that same island of Arago, he was part of a group of mutant wizards who referred to themselves as the Summoners. So what could they do? Well, they could summon various creatures of Arago. Bam, just like that. So while all those mutants were being attacked, the Summoner was sent away to the Immenth Dimension. He was sent to find his grandfather and also carried a portion of Arago with him. His grandfather, being Apocalypse, was needed in order to save Arago. Not bad at all. Being the grandson of Apocalypse must be nice. My grandparents were cool, but they were never like Immenth Dimension cool. They just liked Werther's originals. His powers are pretty interesting. Like I said, he's able to summon and control every dark beast of Arago. Demon elementals, you name it. I mean, in one instance, he actually held one of Cable's bombs as it went off, and it didn't even faze the guy. As you would have guessed just by her name, Talia al Ghul is the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. She made her first appearance in Detective Comics issue 411 and also played a main role in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy in Dark Knight Rises, played by Marion Cotillard. This chick's pretty bad. I mean, Talia is the daughter of Melisandre and Ra's al Ghul, and after witnessing her mother being murdered by Quicken, she began to follow her villainous father's footsteps, learning more and more about the family business. Now, eventually becoming Ra's al Ghul's primary heir. At the end of Dark Knight Rises, we see a nice Nolan little character twist, where Miranda reveals her true identity. Now in the comics it's quite fun as well. See, Batman rescues her from Dr. Dark, in her first issue actually, and Dr. Dark had actually once been a member of her father's League of Assassins. Interesting. Ra's al Ghul informed Batman that her and Robin had been kidnapped, so Batman goes in, of course, to save the day. Then he finds out it's all this big setup by Ra's al Ghul to see if he was good enough to take his daughter's hand in marriage. I feel like Tinder works a bit easier, you know? I mean, just type in your preferences. It's not, you know, must have a cape, must be afraid of bats, no parents, no problem, super swipe. She's also the mother of Damian Wayne, but I'll save that story for another time.
Before she was married to Clint Barton, she was Tonya Parker, and actually, she went back to being Tonya Parker after her and Barton separated. She was Clint's third wife, if you can believe it, and the youngest daughter of Spider-Man in the reality of Earth 807128. We don't know who her mother was or who her sisters were, but we do know she had sisters. She was the mother to Ashley Barton, Peter's granddaughter, who in the Old Man universe would end up taking over Kingpin's area known as Hammer Falls, and would later team up with other multiversal spider totems in the fight against the Inheritors. Ashley's pretty cool. Tonya herself is a master mechanic and perhaps even has a knack for robotics. It's implied anyways.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows who Magneto is. He's the super powerful mutant with the ability to create and control magnetic fields. Magneto was married to an alternate version of Rogue during Age of Apocalypse. Rogue, being the adopted daughter of Mystique, makes Magneto Mystique's son-in-law. A lot of marriage. Magneto and Rogue became lovers after it was discovered that Magneto's magnetic powers made him resistant to Rogue's absorption abilities. I don't know how romantic that sounds to me, but I guess it was nice for them. Together the pair had a child named Charles, named after Charles Xavier, making him the grandson of Mystique by law.
The great-granddaughter of Margaret Slade, also known as Clarice Ferguson, hello Clarice, was a main player in the Age of Apocalypse storyline. Making her first debut in Uncanny X-Men issue 317, she was one of the many mutants that were captured by the Phalanx. She's known to be rather tense and panicky because of her given powers. Anybody caught in the blink wave, which is her teleportation field, would just get shredded. Now I don't mean like get jacked, like they would get shredded apart, their body just poof, gone. She isn't the best at controlling her powers too. And those powers being able to create teleportation warp portals, so she can displace anything and anybody as well, but she also used these portals to throw a weapon back at an enemy. Kinda like in Infinity War during the first New York battle, when Strange and Wong used their portals to throw Ebony Maw's brick darts back at him. It's pretty cool stuff. She joined the mutant nation of Krakoa and battled Nightcrawler, which is a pretty sweet issue.
Ren Duran, which sounds kinda like Duran Duran but isn't, is Logan's daughter from an alternate universe. Her mother was a sorceress known as Sylvie Darkness, and she grew up in a family with a strong lineage of magic users. She herself has both a healing factor and magical abilities, which allow her to open portals. Her bone claws seem to also be imbued with mystical energy as they glow. Ren made her first full appearance appearance in 2019's Marvel Comics Presents issue number 5.
Yep, hear me out, okay? So in Avengers Age of Ultron, we find the twins, one of which I was talking about earlier, Pietro, aka Quicksilver, and the other, Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch. Their powers are given to them not by Magneto in this world, but one of the Infinity Stones, the Mind Stone. After Ultron is accidentally created, he has one idea: to have a kid, make a new body, you know, pass it on. So after being created by Stark, Ultron was born with the same goals almost. So he figured if he took some vibranium and mixed it with that same stone that gave him life, he could make an unbelievable new body, a stronger body. And he nearly succeeds. That is until Tony Stark and the gang comes in, gets the Scepter, and thinks, you know what, why not finish the mission? So they plug the dude in and they finish the download. Now we have Vision. And the rest of the Avengers aren't too fond of this idea, as it's a stronger version of Ultron, and that dude's in the air right now trying to blast the, you know, he's not nice. If at first you don't succeed, just try it again, you know? So Vision pops out, starts questioning his existence the same way his original creator, Ultron, did. The team carefully walks around him, and it isn't until Vision lifts Thor's hammer until they trust him. So Vision floats up to Ultron in the final battle, and Ultron says to him, "My Vision." That's his baby, and now he has a cape and he sounds like Paul Bettany. What's going on? Are you guys looking forward to seeing Vision somehow make a return in WandaVision on Disney+? Let us know down below how you think he's coming back, because we have a couple ideas cooking over here.
Rogue is obviously one of the most well-known of Mystique's children and one of the most popular. Rogue first appeared in the comics in 1981 in Avengers Annual issue number 1. We would later learn that Rogue ran away from the hippie commune where she grew up after her mother's death. She would live life on her own for a time, her mutant powers manifesting before she met Mystique. Destiny had sent Mystique to find Rogue and recruit her to their cause, convincing her to join the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. To both Destiny and Mystique, however, Rogue was always like their daughter. Mystique treated her as such, and despite all the wrongdoings she has committed in her past, has always done what she can to protect Rogue. In a way, Rogue probably received Mystique's best attempt at being a good mother, which, you know, doesn't really mean a lot coming from Mystique, because she's a pretty terrible mother, but it's clear to see that Raven truly cares for her daughter, even when Rogue is focused on hating her mom's guts and wants nothing to do with her.
Making his first appearance in Uncanny X-Force number 13, William Rolfson, better known as Genocide, is the son of Apocalypse and Autumn Rolfson. She was afraid that Apocalypse would see their affair-born son and look at him as a threat. So Autumn decided to hide and raise William by herself. Not a bad plan. During this time, William had grown into his mutant powers, and even had a bad suit to go along with it, and he was only like 15. The suit is designed to trap him and contain his powers. He kind of looks like a skeleton in a Hulkbuster armor. It's kind of neat, like a Mars Attacks alien. He can generate radioactive plasma, which is a nice touch in a fight. Yeah, you wanna go? Hope you like plasma, bucko. Bam! It's also as hot as the sun's core, so it's real good. In the Dark Angel saga, when William and his mom are hiding, Archangel found them. At this time, he was Apocalypse's replacement, so he recruited William. Eventually, William's mom caught on what was going on and gave them hell. Archangel reacted by killing her. What a
This has been something that has always left me wondering in the comics. MJ and Peter have gotten pregnant a few times in the comics, but none has scarred me the most is when Mary Jane was convinced she gave birth to a stillborn baby in Amazing Spider-Man issue 418. This was all revealed to be part of a plot conducted by Norman Osborn, who sought to steal that baby. Why? Well, we never really found out why. A woman in his employ named Allison seemed to spirit the young baby, who we can assume would be named May, away from her parents and off to Europe. But we've never found out what came of that child. During Identity Crisis, there was a hint that May would return, but it would turn out later to be Peter's Aunt May, and not the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter. The whereabouts of this child, if it's still alive, remains unknown. It has been suggested that the baby was killed by Norman in the comics, but then why the plot and investment to have it taken to Europe only to murder that baby? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm still hopeful that one day we'll learn that the child survived and maybe see her return to the comics. Or him, that could be a twist, because I think we're all expecting, you know, a May.